Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. It's all about coaching for relevance, and our dear friend, our amazing coach, not just any coach. We know he's this amazing certified coach. Yes, Randy Swaim joining us here today, as always, coaching for relevance, and he's really helping bringing freedom to potential as an author, as a coach, former military. I mean, this man has done it all, and very, of course, how do I say, very modest about his accomplishments and achievements, but he is a Marshall Goldsmith certified coach, is what I was meaning to say. And really just an amazing overall, awesome person you got to get to know. How are you today?
Well, good, and I feel the same way about you, my friend. You're an awesome friend, and I'm glad we are friends. So that's good. Yeah, but glad to be here.
Beautiful. Thank you. And for those that may not know a little bit about you and our journey today, start it off.
Okay, well, I tell you what, we'll start going into it. And what I was going to do today is add in um, a little bit of a um, somewhat of a hidden example and a hidden scene, but I'm going to bring in this aspect of leadership that sometimes people don't think, but also bring in just a hint of neuroscience as to why it's important and everything. So I'll go ahead and get started if you want.
Got it. Absolutely. Let's do it. Thank you.
Sounds good. Well, I tell you what I'll do is I'll actually start out with one sort of example of what some people might do and everything, but I'll also bring out the dysfunctional part of it because this is a dysfunctional part. And I'll point out what people need to do. And I'll bring out that in my journey, when I've done this right and better, people that react to me, it's not in control or anything, but people that react to me, I'm almost amazed by just the friendships and the alignment and the oneness and the team aspect and all that kind of stuff that I experience from a lot of people. And but it's a very subtle insight that people that are being true managers or true leaders need to understand, and so often they don't. So what I'll do is I'll just mention to you what I refer to as sort of the dysfunctional approach that a lot of people aren't totally aware of. But then I'll bring out the concept and I'll bring out a little bit of neuroscience to, kind of why it's important and things of that nature. And, uh, and then just a couple of things that people need to think about when you're leading your teams. And particularly if you're talking about a rapidly changing environment, or as you said correctly so with the title of my movie and my autobiography of bringing freedom to potential and everything, if you're trying to do that in your team, this is, you got to be aware of this so that you're doing that in a satisfactory and good way. And so I'll go ahead and start with the example that as soon as I say this, most of the people out there that are on teams or even our managers themselves will probably be aware of people that they saw do this, or they may even be aware of examples of when they did this.
Yeah.
And that is one of the things when you're talking about truly connecting with your people.
Yeah.
One of the things that you see a lot of people out there do is every now and then you'll see the manager or the leader or whatever walk up to somebody and say things or bring things to them that try to make them really connect with them at that moment.
Yeah.
But what a lot of people don't realize is a lot of reasons that people tend to do that is because they're trying to make the other person just surrender to them, and in maybe more of a fun sort of way. And and you have to be kind of aware of when you might be doing that in a way that's not really what you're looking for. And when you look at neuroscience, the reason about that is you got to be aware of what your brain, what chemicals your brain are releasing, because in that particular case, oxytocin is the chemical that your brain releases to to feel synergy and oneness with somebody, to feel like there's a real partnership and a connection there and all this. But guess what? If in their experience of what you're doing is doing it in such a way that they think you're just trying to put them aside and get them their emotions coming out in a positive way so that they just shut up and just do what you say, kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. If that's their experience in it, oxytocin is not what's being released. Probably it's norepinephrine, which tells somebody to just shut up and sit down and not think and all that, or stand up and sort of resist a little bit and everything. And so the leader has to be aware a little bit of that. And one of the things that I'll share with you is one of the key questions on that is how often are you truly connecting with your people?
Yep.
So that when you do that, they experience the reality of the oxytocin and the team aspect of it. And I'll just tell you that what I do over at the airport, when I'm over there, there's just a lot of people in a lot of different roles and all that kind of stuff that I I say hi to, I connect with on a day-to-day basis or whatever when I see them. There's some folks that I have to kind of connect with routinely because of their documentation and paperwork that they're doing and everything. And a lot of times when I walk by the office and I see them sitting at the chair, I'll stop just for a second and say, "Hey, how y'all doing?" Kind of thing. And y'all have a good one and walk on by, kind of thing. Then there's a lot of uh, uh, the kind of the higher level people that they get off the elevator and we smile at each other and it's like with a big
Mm-hmm.
smile and you go, "Oh yeah, how's it going?
Aw.
Good, hey,
Yeah.
good to see you," all this sort of stuff. And having that going on as a routine basis. And in fact, I will say this, that I've been applauded in a number of ways, but I've also had some of the senior leaders in it when they see me, they kind of hold up their hand and wave and stuff and say hello and everything. And again, that's not just bragging on me. It's just they're aware of the difference in kind of how that's done. And so you just kind of have to be sort of aware of that a little bit. And how are you really doing that? Are you interacting with the people in such a way that they don't think you're just trying to control things? You're not just playing some managerial game, kind of thing to set them aside so that they'll just capitulate to what you want every time and all this sort of stuff. But they're experiencing that you believe in them and you're treating them. Yes, they have to grow and become like everybody does, but they have a sense of your belief in who they are and what they're doing. And you know what? If you get that sense of belief between the two of you, guess what? If you need to tweak it and change it a little bit, you can do that without really having a big problem in
Wow.
terms of their reaction. And so that is just something to think about. Now, I will say this, that on the other side of the spectrum, you can also kind of do that sometimes depending on the people that you're working with, because go figure, every single person on your team is just a little different and stuff. But if you're spending like every day just doing stuff like that and saying hello and all that, this kind of stuff, there's nothing wrong with that, to just say hello and stuff. But if you're doing it in a way where you're trying to get their sort of fun emotions going and all this kind of stuff, and they start to perceive that you're just trying to play control, well, you're doing it in a way where you can control them and stuff, it kind of goes against what you're really trying to control and everything. And so, just this aspect of, again, the oxytocin versus the norepinephrine and some of the other ones, you know, be aware of in the way your people react, because guess what? In the way they react, that may indicate that you need to tweak that just a little differently.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that you got to go, talk to them every single day and and all this kind of stuff. Uh, but it's just, sometimes when you see them, which is every couple of days maybe, you wave, you shake hands or whatever, and whatever kind of thing. Um, but uh, but if all you're doing is when you walk up to people and it's obvious you're trying to control something with them and tell them what to do, and you're starting out with just a funny thing, that can be viewed and experienced negatively in them. And so the bottom line is creating that relationship with your people in the team. Because when you look at this aspect of true team synergy, it's not just everybody capitulating to what you tell them to do. It's people that are working together and
Yeah.
really catching the vision. Because here's the thing, somebody that's on your team may have a little bit of a different vision in something that's happening that you didn't see. And you know what? Do they have the comfort level to bring it out as a team member, not as a control freak or whatever, but they trust the oneness that your team has. And so it's just something to think about, um, that when you're looking at leading your team and making things happen and really bringing radical success into the game. And particularly, when you think about it, as you know, one of the key things that's in my concept, I've got it on LinkedIn and on my website and all that, but it's the organizational maneuverability concept that's trademarked for me out of Washington. And the bottom line is, not everything fits rote academic, answers, and not everything is just whatever. Guess
Yeah.
what? The external factors are often changing even when we don't expect them to. And can you make the right decisions, and can you develop your team's trust in each other and in you in such a way that they have they come up with the awareness and the insights that maybe nobody else in the team did have, and be able to come up with the solutions that are aligned with what you're wanting, but maybe a little bit different in a way that's good and everything. And so when you're talking about this whole aspect of that, what I tell people is, it's not just about you. If you're going and telling jokes and all that, that's all good. You can do that. But if you're doing it in such a way where the people think that you're just trying to control versus be a team member with them, kind of thing, that can disconnect what you're really trying to accomplish. And that's something that can be, employed on
Mm-hmm.
a weekly basis to your team. And it's not something that's just done when you want to get them to do something. It's not that. It's something that you're building through the journey as your team is going along, and they start getting a sense of what you're really all about, and how you really believe in them, and how you're helping to develop them in such a way that you're all a synergistic team, and you're not
Yeah.
just playing control freak games. And so that's just one thing to think about. If all you're thinking about is the superficial aspect of, oh, I just want them to, laugh at this, and so they can feel comfortable and all. Well,
Yeah.
guess what? If you say something and they laugh at it, but in the back of their mind, they're thinking, geez, wonder why I did that. And I don't know, kind of thing. That can be negative.
Yeah.
But if you're connecting with them as a team, going through the journey, and some of the humorous things that you bring out, or the little things that you bring out in talking to them, comes into play in such a way where it doesn't make them feel that sort of disconnect and all that, guess what? That can bring radical success. But it's just, when you're talking about leadership, it's a very sort of subtle but insightful aspect of leadership that a lot of people don't fully understand. It's not just about, you know, trying to get them to laugh so that I can control them or anything like that. It's not that. It's about building that relationship where their experience of you is such that they want to connect with you. They want to follow. They want to see the radical results. They want to be a part of all this. And that doesn't happen when you're just doing it periodically to make them smile at something you said. Now, that can be good, but
Yeah.
but it can also be good if they say something and your response to it is sort of a positive but humorous thing. Um, amazing things can happen. Um, and in fact, I may have shared this on a show before. I don't remember, but I was given a check ride one time. This was about eight
I love
years
this.
ago.
And what
I
is a
was
check ride for people that don't know?
Oh, okay.
All right?
It's a practical test. It's when somebody's trying to get qualified on a particular jet airplane,
Good.
but they've never really had any time in it per se or whatever. And this particular guy was a little bit of a younger guy, but it was his very first jet experience and his very first airline transport certificate qualification for it. I was giving him both, but you could tell because of his background, he was just nervous as all get out. And I sat there like this across the table, and we hadn't started the oral yet. We hadn't
Hmm.
started any of that yet. But I could tell in his body language that he was just nervous as all get out, because he had never, been evaluated on that before.
Hmm.
And I looked at him, and I went like this, and I just said, "Well, just remember one thing. I can tell you're nervous, but realize
Good.
there's no financial reason why you can't be successful on this." And it was hilarious because we both laughed because he immediately said, "Well, I could run to the ATM real quick," and all I did is I went, "Never mind that," kind of thing, and we both just laughed. But you know what? We kind of connected. And I was a check airman. I was not an instructor. I was not helping him do it. I was assessing him. But you
Hmm.
know what? He mastered it and he nailed it for the full check ride, and he got his airline transport certificate and his type rating on the Challenger 601 at that time.
Wow.
But you know what? Little funny things like that can come into play. But the question is, and the question that I leave with the listeners is, how do you have to do that so that it's truly positive
Yeah.
and it's not something that your person thinks you're just trying to manipulate, kind of thing. And because if you only do it every now and then, or every time you go talk to them, if you're just coming up with little funny things, you're not getting the job done. And
Yeah.
because there are times where if you walk up to it and they're struggling with sometimes, there are times where you got to go up like this and you got to go, talk to me about it,
Uh-huh.
kind of thing, as a leader. But the bottom line is, if you get this aspect of this part of your interaction with your people going in such a way that you build the oxytocin release in your brain rather than the norepinephrine, you can get radical results at it. And you know what? They feel like they're truly part of a team. And that's just, it's kind of an insidious aspect of leadership. But when you're talking about leadership, you've got to be able to do that in an effective way, but also a professional and development way, in such a way that they trust what you're doing, not just because that they're laughing. They may be laughing, but in their mind, they may be saying, I got to watch out
Hmm.
for him, kind of thing, kind of thing. As opposed to just a moment, this guy that I said that to, we both chuckled and laughed for a
I'm
second. But you
sure.
know what? He was immediately he was confident and relaxed, and he knew that I was just joking also. But you know what? He nailed it. He did awesome because he wasn't scared anymore and it wasn't getting in his way. And the bottom line is, when you're leading your team, how are you true? And this is the question that I just leave with the listeners. What do you need to do differently as you look at your experience going through each week? What do you need to do differently to truly not just play control freak games with your
Hmm.
team, but to truly connect with them in such a way that
Mm.
they feel a degree of oneness and connection and synergy? Because when you have that and you make that the most it can
Yeah.
be, some amazing things can happen. But it's just kind of it's a little bit of a humorous thing, but it's also a little bit of an insidious insight that most people don't think about. But how are you doing that? Are you doing it in a way where it comes across as you're just trying to play control freak stuff with them, or are you really connecting with them in a positive way? And are you communicating that with them so that they receive it? And some amazing things can happen. So it's just kind of an interesting thing. Like I said, it's just a simple point, but there's a lot of people that if they don't think it through and they don't become aware of their people
Yeah.
and who their people really are and how you're interacting with them and how you can do that better, guess what? That can come into play. Like I say, it's a little bit more insidious. It's a little bit more tricky, but it's an important aspect of it of how you need to really connect with your people and make that synergy and oneness built. So I just leave that as a thought for some of the people that are hearing it. And again, just there's a lot of ways where you can do that wrong in a way that's sort of dysfunctional. But if you do it right, some amazing things can happen in the way your team grows together and grows together with you and becomes one and can make amazing things happen. So I just throw that out just as something to think about.
Got it. Well, thank you. We still got more time. What else did you want to add? Come on, we got another 5 minutes, Randy.
Well, I tell you what, I'll just the only thing I'll say on that is that that is a lot more applicable than most people realize. Because, like I said, in an organizational maneuverability concept where not everything is rote academic, guess what? If your mind, from a leadership standpoint, is constantly going into a rote academic picture in your mind, you're not getting the job done. And like I said on this particular example, if you're just saying, okay, yeah, well, I'm supposed to go get them to chuckle. Okay, I'll go over here and get them to chuckle this one time so I can, so they'll listen to me and stuff like that. Guess what? You're not getting the job done. That's rote academic stuff, but it's not successful necessarily. If you if you build the relationships in terms of your leadership, and let's face it, some leadership aspects are not just rote academic,
Yeah.
a lot of them. And so, how are you really connecting with your people and the different people on your team? Guess what? How you interact with this person over here, guess what? You interact with this one over here, maybe just a little different because they're not the same people and they don't have the same reaction and they both have different pasts and different backgrounds and things of that nature and so how you're really connecting with your people there and I'll not a humorous thing but I shared this one thing I think on the show some time ago, but when I was a site manager up at Griffiths Air Force Base in our strategic air defense training contractor operation, this one day the team members were in there, and I was in the room with them, and I was listening to them, and they were coming up with some unique insights on what they were thinking. And one of them, who was a XF4 guy, like just like I was, went over and sat down with a pen and pad. He was going to jot some notes down, but then he realized that the boss was still in the room, and he froze like this. And all he did is he looked over at me eye to eye like this, and all I did with him is I looked back at him like this, and I simply winked my eye, and I nodded my head
Yeah.
and smiled. And he smiled back at me. What I was telling him is, yeah, keep going, buddy. Doing good. Keep
Wow.
going. And so if you think about it, how you're really connecting with your people in that and how you're using some of those aspects of how you really want to connect with your people, that's not just a one thing when you're trying to control them this one day. That's an
Mm.
ongoing process of how you're really connecting with your people and making them feel that oneness and that synergy and that aspect about where they're glad to be on the team and they trust you and they trust how you view them and they trust all of what you're doing. And so just kind of an interesting, and that's just, like I say, what I brought today is just one little insidious aspect of it that sometimes people don't think about. Where you do that and how often you do that and in what way you do that is can be bad or good. And so you got to make sure that you're doing it in a way that truly builds the synergy and the oneness. And so I'll leave that for the ones that hear it.
Beautiful. Thank you. And update on the film, anything you need to share with us? And of course, we got to tell everyone about the book.
Yeah, we got the autobiography. It's being processed. It's on Amazon, and my colleagues in ION over in Germany are in the process of working on marketing it. Had a few new purchases of it, which is kind of cool to start with. But then the movie is getting very close to being done. In fact, we're in the process with Podcast Business News Network of having them fly me up to New York City. And the marketing guy is going to be going up there with us, as I understand. And we're going to be going on to into a studio kind of thing, a professional studio there. And it's going to be on a well-known, apparently, I haven't heard of it before, but a show that's gone out to a lot of people around the world and everything. And what it's going to be an interview on this movie, but it's going to be focused on the Hollywood documentary movie of my life journey, and that's getting very close. We're PB&N and I are kind of working on the details of it and when and all that kind of stuff, but that looks like it's going to be happening fairly quick. So so the movie will be out there. It'll be posted on different platforms, and people can purchase it and stuff like that. And the book, same thing. So I appreciate my story. It doesn't call attention to me, because Bringing Freedom to Potential is the title of it. But what I tell people is it's a real story of overcoming and soaring above the storms in life. And you know what? A lot of people in our world need to understand how they can do that in their journey. And
Beautiful.
so that's what I hope is the value of it.
Exciting, exciting. So when are you coming to New York?
Well, we're planning on it for next week,
Okay.
but what we're doing is we're going to be getting together with the marketing folks and all, and finding out. I know Ashley, and you know Ashley,
I love
obviously.
Ashley. She's my favorite. You
And
haven't met her yet, have you?
I have, yes.
Oh, God. Okay,
And
good.
I think the world of her as a friend and colleague and all that.
Me
But
too.
they're working on it. We're planning on next week, but they may have to kind of wait just a week or so. We're going to kind of see. She's kind of working a lot of those details right now today, so she can call me like today or tomorrow. And yeah, it's something that they wanted to do. So and you probably know this, but the Podcast Business News Network sponsors are the ones that wanted to have Hollywood come here and create this movie kind of
Yeah.
thing
Well, you have
when they
quite an
heard about my
inspiring
story and everything.
story.
So yeah,
You do.
so I'm humbled by it, and I
Oh,
just,
as you should be. You're
cool.
awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I tell you what, you are too, Jill. I know we've been together as colleagues and friends for a long time, and I tell you what, I appreciate you
Same
very
here. I
much. So
want to find out when you're coming up because I want to meet you. I'm going to text Ashley. All right. Thank you so much.
feel
Have a
free. I'll
great
be
day.
doing it. Great. I'll enjoy it. Well, listen, you have a great one too. I know you got some other shows to get onto, but my friend, it's always a pleasure, and
Ditto,
definitely
ditto.
look forward to seeing you again.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.